All right, we're on. Welcome back to the PerformPodcast. It's actually been a while. We haven't actually recorded one in a couple of weeks, so might be a little bit shady here. But obviously today we've got a pretty special guest on. I think a pretty special guest. One of Perform's very core athletes. That was here for one of the very first days. But I think today we'll be able to get a little bit of an insight into who you are, where you've been, where you've gone along.
Yep.
And then also for me, did you listen to Benny's?
I did. That was a fantastic one. I love listening to Benny talk, so that was fantastic.
Got us a little bit of got a couple of goals for our podcast for you. I think probably the biggest one, it's going to be the obvious one in terms of your injury history.
Yep.
But obviously you could nearly say 4?
4 knee surgeries, but three ACLs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you've had a lengthy history in terms of injuries, and I think the biggest one from this podcast, and a grab out of it, we've had a couple of people last year, that have had recurring injuries. Because I think it's one thing to get an injury, get knocked back, do the whole process. It's obviously quite demanding. It's quite draining on your energy. But then for it to happen again, and then it sometimes happens again, what's actually happening inside your head and how you're getting through all that, navigating it, etc., etc. But that's probably one of the main goals I want to try and pull out of you today, to pass on obviously to the athletes and the crew. But I thought we'd just run through a bit of a timeline of your journey from little Jackie.
Little Jack, that's it. Well, jeez.
And so where did you start? Where did you start your juniors in terms of your rugby?
Started my juniors, under sixes, UWA. So I was a UWA junior all the way through. So basically played under sixes all the way to under 17s. From there, with UWA, and then kicked on with Colts there, and was lucky enough to then play first grade for UWA, and that's sort of where my rugby journeys sort of started from, really. UWA all the way through.
Yeah. Junior through and through.
Juniors through and through.
Yeah.
I think my old man as well played a few games for UWA, which was awesome. So that was cool growing up. I think he won 5 or 6 fourth grade titles.
And who else?
Oh, who else?
Who else does your dad play for?
Oh.
Which I want to talk about today as well.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. Obviously, I talked to the old man, but I think he played close to 50 games for the Brahms, 7 caps for the Wallabies. So growing up with that as your old man is pretty cool. So
what's your earliest memory of rugby, dad, Wallabies, Brumbies? What's
earliest memories would probably be just being a ball boy for first grade.
Yeah.
I think he retired. We came over to Perth. He was with the Western Force there, working with them, which was pretty awesome. As a young fella, getting to come in HQ, you see, James O'Connor, David Pocock, those sort of boys, and dads around that, which was awesome. And then him playing first grade for WA as well. Got to.
And it's a car, not gunshots.
There we go. Righty-o. Getting to ball boy for him was pretty cool. And then when he sort of stepped away from first grade footy and decided to go win some premierships with his mates in fourth grade, it was a pretty, I would say, pretty
fun. The entertainers,
fun.
Were they the original entertainers?
They were I would say so. Yeah. I think they were sponsored by adultshop.com, so you could tell the type of people that were around there. It was quite fun to be around.
They actually were?
They legitimately
I thought that was
were.
A joke.
It was not a joke.
Wow, okay.
So I think the Colts used to love playing with them, I think, rather than playing first grade, second grade. But I definitely remember, as a young fella, some parties back at our place in the spa. Yeah. I think it was one night I remember, walking out of the living room. We had a spa out in the backyard. And I walked out, and one of Dad's mates has got my Darth Vader helmet. My electronic Darth Vader helmet in the spa. Oh, mate, I'd probably be,
20?
9? I wish. Maybe 8 or 9, maybe. 9 or 10 or something like that. It's, I was like, well, that's pretty cool. Win a premiership and you get to... if you got these 40-year-old blokes on a few days, Mad Mondays at your house. But that was a pretty cool place to... Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
So you've obviously had rugby around you your whole life.
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty locked in.
Yep.
Did you, because obviously said, one of the things I'm interested in digging with you is like your traits and your personality. Like we spoke about that before. Obviously, hang out with you a fair bit, but like you're quite driven.
Yep.
Right, you're quite locked in. You're quite self-proclaimed, bit like go with the flow. But like in terms of you're very locked into what you do, has that been influenced by your dad? And even Trish a little bit as well. Mum as well. Can't forget Trish.
You can't forget little Trish. I would say like that was sort of drilled into probably me since a young fella. Was I guess that respect, that discipline, things like that, and especially with I was exposed to probably I could say high performance programs at a young age. I actually really wanted to play professional tennis for a while.
Yeah, right.
So I was involved with a few academies with that where, training 3-4 hours on the court, 4 or 5 days a week. You get up before school, do your skipping, do things like that.
Yeah,
You always, make sure you got good grades at school, things like that. And it was always, I think my parents drilled into me, it was like, if you want to play professional sport, you've got to treat yourself like you want to play professional sport.
Yeah.
You do the training, you do the hard work, you get into the gym.
Yep.
I think Dad bought me some weights when I was 10, 11.
Makes sense. Yep.
Getting to the gym, little chin-up bar, things like that. And, I loved it. I remember one of my first S&Cs was Len Cannell at the tennis centre, which was awesome. You get exposed to those, S&C at 12, 13, training in the gym with all this sort of professional aura around it, which was awesome. That sort of drilled into me, I guess, from a young age. And from that, that's sort of all you ever know. So once you start to get that 15, 16, 17, it's normal.
Yeah. I feel like you can kind of tell with kids that have, and obviously there's that fine line, I guess, where you push the boundary too far, but you push them a little bit, and I think we even watching the Venus Williams documentary, and their dad and their parent was pushing, but then was very, was obviously hard, but then knew that line of being a kid, having fun, but obviously it's interesting to see the kids that are influenced a fair bit from a young age and where they end up going and the personality traits that they maintain all the way through, which obviously you can see from where you are now. Obviously we'll get to where you are now, but it's just, it's interesting to see that.
Yeah, definitely. I sort of see very sort of similarities between me and my dad now, how he was, and, he put a lot of hard work in to where he got to. I think that was also a big driver for me as well. It's look what my old man can do with half of the resources I ever, I had.
What was, in a way, what's his story? Have you got a bit of a background in his story for people that don't know? How did he build himself up? What did he work with?
But I grew up in Sydney, so played, was a public school kid through there. Played for Gordon, gone through in his first grade.
Yeah, cool.
Sort of journey there, and from what I sort of can remember, and what I talked to my old man about it, he slugged in first grade for a bit, played a few first grade games, worked on the side full time, and I think he was in East West Academy when they opened up with the potential of the Brums. So he was one of the first. He was in the first Brums team and had the opportunity to go down there. How that came about, not sure, but. That's
a different story.
That's a different story. Not sure, but he never had the big he never sort of was all in all the programs and all that sort of stuff. He's worked hard to where he got to, and I'm very proud that I get to go back watch some of the highlights he used to play and things like that. And he managed to play 7 cats to lobbies.
Was he outside back?
It was a winger. Yeah. So. He's always drilled in since you're at a young age, hard work hard, don't take anything for granted, which sort of put me in good stead for where I am sort of now with my life.
Because I can imagine too of obviously and I was quite lucky. I feel like I was watching Crystal more so than a part of that journey on your third one, and just being a small part of that. I think obviously it makes a lot of sense now why you were so consistent, why you were so resilient through the whole process, because you've had all that laid down from such an early age. Whereas you can see a lot of people get into an injury and it's very overwhelming and they can't look beyond the horizon, whereas obviously you were looking straight, sweet, next job. What I got to do now?
Yeah, I think that's also like I knew, like with my injuries, I knew where I wanted to be. I knew what I wanted to do. So it made it easy to come in day in, day out, do the rehab, because it's like, I know this is what I want to do. This is what I've been doing this is what I wanted to do since I was a kid. It's like, I'm not going to let all that hard work for 6-7 years because I don't want to come in and do my rehab sort of thing. But I think I try to keep that whenever I'm injured or things like that. It's like, what's another 6 months to come in, do the work, do your rehab. I've been working up for that since I was 11, 12. So it's like, I'm not going to let 6 months sort of push me down sort of thing. So I think that's where sort of my mindset in regards to that one was. So.
Yeah, cool. I think we'll dig into the injury stuff a bit more, but I want to so you played all your juniors at UWA.
Yep.
I think we were talking about it before. And then how did the Reds start? You obviously how did all that kind of come about?
So I was playing first grade at UWA. Was in sort of the Future Force setup there. I was 19, like Carlo, all those sort of boys. And then we went to I think we played the Australian Stockmen. They came over for a game to play against us before we went over for the URC 19s. There's a fellow called Alex Gibbon. Used to play for the Reds. Great fella. He played against him in the Stockmen, and he sort of got into contact and loved the way I played. And I think he passed on my details to Sam Cordingley at the Reds. And then went to the URC 19s. They got hold of a bit of a footage, and they gave me a call. I was lucky enough to be picked in the Junior Wallabies extended squad from that URC 19s campaign. And he gave me a call and was like, mate, do you want to come over to Queensland and do a bit of a train and trial for 4 weeks with us at the Reds for a pre-season? So I was like, at that point in time, the force with the rapid rugby, so there was no real pathway for myself there. They'd only ever had 2 or 3 WTS boys with that, and I wasn't going to be a part of that for that next year. So I jumped on a plane sort of 2 or 3 weeks later. And
so how old were you at that time?
I was 19.
19?
Yeah. So I was 19. Jumped on the plane and off I was in, I think it was November, for a 4-week block with the Reds. So
cool.
It all happened very fast.
And then continue on from there. So what's happening 20, 21, 22? How's the...
So did the 4-week trial with the Reds. Was lucky enough to be rewarded with a 2-year WTS. So wider training squad, sort of a rookie contract. And I sort of went over there with the mindset, you learn. I was only 19. The highest level I played was first grade footy in Perth. It's no shoot shield, it's no QPR, but so I went over there. The idea, just go over there, learn, just put in the hard work, do the little things. And I was lucky. There was a few injuries in the team. I think Jordan Patea had a few niggles there and there, and I got the call up one day to sit on the bench for the Reds versus the Waratahs in Sydney. So that was my debut. I was still 19 at the time. I think it was about just maybe Feb March, I think it was. That was sort of my debut. I got 5 minutes off the bench for Joel Kopp, but that was also my dad flew over some of his close mates and some of our close family mates as well that I grew up with. Made the trip over to watch me run on, which was pretty incredible.
Pretty special,
I ended up playing a few more games, and so played 3 games, and from there it was basically the Oceania. So the Junior Wallabies team was going to Oceania to play to the Gold Coast, play that Oceania sort of competition. But Filippo had broken his arm, so I got the call up to basically go to Tour South Africa, which was pretty incredible. So we got to play the Bulls in Joburg, and
Jesus, that's a big one.
That was
scary.
It wasn't scary. It was like you walk into the stadiums there, and it's just it's incredible. Like they're just these big concrete coliseum sort of thing. But you're playing against Jesse Creel and those boys, you're just sitting there with a 19, 20-year-old, and you're just like, this is pretty unreal. So played those 2 games. Second one was against the Sharks, and unfortunately in that game, I made to make a tackle, and knee popped on me. Knew something was wrong, and sort of walked off, and ACL gone, and that was sort of the end of. I think it was going to be the first sort of Australian team I'd ever sort of made, and unfortunately that was the end of the junior Wallabies for me. I didn't get a chance to play with that, but that was Super Rugby went from a big high to very quickly 5 games in, 5 games in the career, and ACL done. Thought it was all over very, very quickly.
Did you know what you were in for? Like after you'd done it, like was it aware?
Didn't really. I sort of, when they told me, I just sort of cried in the change rooms, because you don't know how long, you don't know how bad it was. For me, it was just that was my big first injury. So I wasn't I had no idea. What I was going to be in for. I knew it was going to be a bit of a hard slog, but.
So how long away was the Junior Wallabies?
They were going to play the games that weekend.
Oh.
So I got injured on the Friday or Saturday night, and then they were playing that next week against the All Blacks. So my grandson actually booked accommodation on the Gold Coast. So I flew home basically injured and went to the Gold Coast, and instead of going with the Junior Wallabies, I was parking up on the Gold Coast beaches, watching them play on the little screen, which was heartbreaking. But for me, there always is what it is. It happened, but from there, sort of rehab process in that first 6 months was pretty tough. Away from home, I was living by myself at the time, so that was a tough one. And I was sort of starting to have a few complications with the knee. Like my knee kept blowing up, kept having to have it drained. I was getting a lot of pain in the knee that I was like, there's something wrong, sort of thing. Doesn't feel right. Like I got to a point, I think 5 months down the track, I think it was, and I couldn't walk upstairs. And I'm gone to the doc, and I was like, there's something going on. They're like, nah, you're fine, whatever. But then, they kept having. I had to get my knee drained every, 3 to 4 weeks. I was like, something's wrong. So went back to the surgeon. They ended up cleaning it out. Had a bit of scar tissue in there that was causing a bit of inflammation, and then was sort of getting a little bit better. That sort of delayed my rehab a bit, but I was sort of getting a little bit better with it, and then COVID hit. So so I think it was about 8 months in, maybe 7 months in when COVID hit, and then it was time to do basically rehab away from the program, which was odd. When I compare it to my third ACL here, but COVID hit, so we were away from the program. We didn't know when we'd play again. We didn't know when we'd train again. And sort of, here's your stack of weights, and here's your running program, and this and that, and off to the park, do that. So eventually when we came back together, I think I was feeling pretty good and in pretty good shape. And I think it was second week in or second session in, I got stuck doing a conditioning game, and he got stuck and half tore my ACL again.
The same leg?
Same knee.
Yeah.
So half tore my ACL on the same knee. From there, it was sort of never the same. It was the way they sort of described it. I had a few scans on it, tried to get a little bit better. It was basically, they were describing it as like a frayed rope, that it was like, you've got to do rehab. You got to
time.
you got to give it time. But at that point as well, it was with COVID, it was you either play or you don't have a contract next year. There's not much money going around. So it got to a point where I was trying to get through training sessions, things like that, and got to a point where I actually the surgeon wouldn't sign off on me saying I was physically fit to play. I actually signed a waiver to say that, okay, I know the risks. Like, I understand that the surgeon or the doctor have said that's probably not fit for me to play on. So,
it's a big risk.
Did not pay off, but it was one of those things where in that time, it was you either play, and I just really wanted to play, and it was either play or potentially another surgery. I might get let go anyway. In that time, you played 5 games. There's not much.
So as a kid, you nearly say a kid. So the risk of doing your knee, the desire to play rugby was at a higher level than the concern of doing your knee again.
Yes.
For you.
Yeah, for me it was. I just wanted to play. I just wanted to prove that I deserved to be there. and that I was good enough to be there. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get a contract if I don't play. And that was why I was there. I was there to play professional rugby. I was there to play rugby. And that was the risk that I took. Signed the waiver. Sweet. Second game. Took a step against the force on the Gold Coast. Playing them on the Gold Coast. Came on with about 10 minutes into the game and took a step. And I was like, oh, no, this is... You know the feeling of that, like something's gone on. No, something's gone wrong. So I end up playing the rest of the game, just with the doc running out, strapping my knee. I couldn't change direction. I was going, like they're testing it at half time, going, no, this should be fine. There's nothing wrong. ACL still feels like it's there, and you're sitting there going, I can't change direction. I can't. So then after that, sort of got a cortisone injection. Try to get through it. Training was a mission to get through. Like, it was just every step. It was just ow, to try to change direction. But eventually, I was lucky enough to get picked in the 23 for the final of the Super Rugby AU against the Brums in Canberra, which was a cool experience. And then it was sort of a weird feeling though once it was done, because you sort of had that gut feeling. It was like I didn't play that game, didn't come on. They were sort of moving players around, basically for me to not come on. I'm sort of aware of that. And sort of on the plane home, you're just like, I think I'm cut. Like, straight after the game, I sort of had that weird gut feeling that my ACL was busted, and that it was probably, that was it. That was finishing my last game for the Reds. So that was a weird feeling. That ended up coming home, going back to Brizzy, had the scan on it. It was re-torn. And
how long between the time that you felt like you did it and after the grand final? How much time was between that?
And after the grand final?
So between you did it you knew you did it that time, and then after the grand final, how much time was in between?
Probably 4 weeks. 5 weeks.
Was it just you in your head being like, I don't want to know, I just want to get through
it
this?
Was like, I knew exactly, it was in my head that I was like, I know that something's wrong, and it was just trying to get through training. You sort of put on a face, you're like, I feel fine, just to get through training. But so then I had the scan, had surgery. I was lucky enough that my old man came over to help me with the surgery as well. But then it was a week after surgery, got called in to the office, and that was it. It was like, thanks mate, unfortunately we're not
going to continue
on here. So I sort of said to him, that's fine. Can I stay, do my rehab? I want to play for the Reds again. Can I jump in your academy? Unpaid, just help me with my rehab. So I ended up doing that, staying in Brizzy, was working, one of the guys at East Rugby Club, one of the sponsors there, Mill Constructions, managed to help me get a job. So I was working as like a bit of a labourer there, chippy labourer, with doing my rehab on the side. Did my rehab, got through sort of the 12 months and came back, and second game for East, came back and played, and went to come off the line and went to stop, make a tackle, and left knee went on me. I think that one hurt the most. That was, it was...
Because I've seen that photo of you on the floor with the physio.
Think about it. It was not a... It was a tough one, because I knew straight away, I felt my knee just keep going, felt a pop, and I just basically broke down on the field. I just cried straight away.
Because I can imagine there'd be so many people on that field that knew what happened, that knew your story, that were like, shit.
I had a lot of mates there that I either played with or sort of knew what I'd sort of gone through the first two. And as soon as that done, I just walked off crying. Just couldn't hold it in. And then I remember calling my dad after, and it was, I just sort of broke down crying. I remember I just wanted to be like him, sort of thing. And that was, that was a tough one. Because you went from, like, it all feels like a bit of a blur now, but you go from this high of, I've been signed, I'm going to play professional rugby, which was my dream, to all of a sudden you're 3 knees, you feel busted, you feel broken, and it was time to come home. So that was probably definitely the right decision to... If I had my time again, I probably should have gone home after my second one.
Yep.
But with me in my mindset of where I was like, nah, that's fine. Like, I'm not coming home. I'm going to stay. I'm going to get through the rehab and I will get signed again. That was sort of my mentality of it. And it didn't work out. But I was very grateful that I got to come home. I had the surgery at home, had my parents around me, had my mates around me as well. And then that's sort of where Perform comes into it, really, with my third one.
But before we get to that, obviously it's a pretty big event. Like, I'm just trying to think about it from like our young athletes and all the kids that have watched this and what they're thinking. Like for you, obviously that's your hardest. That's your peak. That's like where the point where it kind of cracks you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like how were you around that time? But even more so, like, 'cause that's what just blows my mind. Like, because again, we'll talk about what happened with our stuff and everything. But like, the fact that you just after your third, and I want to say 99% of the population are like, no, I'm done. You come back and you're like, again.
Yeah.
How? Why? What's driving you there?
I don't know. It was...
Is it because of the group around you that have helped you? Is it like...
I think it was the group in that I was home. Mum and Dad, like, I had thoughts of not playing, like not having another crack.
Yeah.
But, you know, with my dad and especially my partner as well, Amro, like, they believed that I could do it again. And sort of that belief. And I sort of said to myself, I was like, well, I've gone through 2. Or what's going to stop me going through 3?
Why not?
And I still had that drive, and I'm like, I can do it. I can make it. I did it once, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And I sort of had that mindset of, that's fine. I've got a great support crew around me. If I've done it once from here, growing up in Perth, I'll do it again from Perth.
Yeah.
And that was sort of my mindset of it. Was I've just got to work harder than all those other boys that are in the programs. And I've had control. Now I've got control of what I want to do. Yeah, and I think that was the difference with this one here, was that I had full control of, I can go to the gym whenever I want. I can do my extra running. I can do this. I can do that.
Yeah.
I didn't have to, like, my parents helped me out a lot. Like, I didn't have to go get a job full time. I had the extra time to do all the extra work. And without them and without that support, there's no way I could have done it.
Yeah.
Come back from a third one.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty cool. And obviously big shout out to the whole support crew. Amaro, Trish.
Yes, Amaro, Trish, Mitch, Lockie.
The whole crew.
Form, but we'll get into how that...
But I think that blows my mind. It's like, and even like, I've had my little bits and pieces, but like, looking at people like you is the reason I'm like, oh, okay, maybe play again. And I can imagine for other people as well, like, and that's why I guess kind of like the next question is like, is there anything you've kind of learnt? Is there anything that you're in a weird way kind of grateful for what's happened? Like, I know that's a big statement, but like, it's more like, is anything that you've been able to look back and go, all right, cool, this has happened, and now I get to do this, or I get to whatever it might be?
I think looking back on it now, it's like, I'm grateful that it happened. As in, like, I'm grateful that I got to play. There's a lot of people that didn't get, like, will never get to play Super Rugby or never get to play for Queensland. And, you know, I only played 7 games, but it's like, I'm grateful that I got to play those 7 games. So I'm grateful that I got to play against the Bulls and teams like that. Like, obviously, it's hard to look back on as well, because you sort of look back on it with a bit of pain, and you just 100%. Like, you never got to sort of feel like you finished what you started, sort of thing. Or it's like you've been working up to a thing for so long, and all of a sudden it's gone, taken away. And it's like that mindset of, you just like, I need to get back there. I need to get back there. I need to get back there. Which sort of drove a lot of my training. It was like, I'll get back there. So look at it. I think I wouldn't say I wasted, but like, it felt like it was quite draining during the rehab process to be like, I've got to get back there. I've got to get back there. I've got to do that extra session. Is
that the voice that's in your head? Like, through that, like, let's move to the third rehab now. Like, Is that the voice that's in your head? Like, I got to do it. Like,
it was, yeah, that was what sort of drove me. Was like, I need to get back. I like, they're training, I need to train.
yeah,
And I thought that I could. I had sort of that belief that I'll get back. I've done it once. I'll do it again. Let's go. Let's train. I think, well, the amount of times you've had to keep the gym open because I just wouldn't go home. I would just sit here.
Oh, we got some stories. Don't you worry. We're going to bust into those. I wish Keith was here.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of what drove me. It was just like, well, you know, I've gone through all that pain. What for? It's like, I've got to do it again.
Okay.
And that was sort of what drove me in that third one. And
So your mindset's still, I want to go pro? Or is it, I want to play rugby? Like, where's the...
now, like this
from the
season...
Third, so from the third, sorry.
From the third one,
it
was, I want to play pro.
Yeah.
From the third one, it was... There was times there that I thought about, like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
Like, why do I put myself through this?
Mm-hmm.
And it was... But then, obviously, you put those voices away, and it was at that time, it's like, I'm going to play pro again. That was the goal.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's like, if I don't want to play pro again, why am I doing this work?
Yeah.
That was sort of my mentality of it. It's like, I've got to play pro again.
Yeah.
So...
Which is crazy. It's crazy. I think it's pretty unreal, and it's been pretty motivating, and I guess it kind of moves us forward to your journey here a bit more, and flashbacks of Jack being in here at 9 p.m. at night with some Batman instrumental music playing in the gym. And, mate, the sessions, like, there's...
Good times.
I've trained a couple... funny enough, you're all kind of the same team, but I've trained a couple people in my time. Where it's like, obviously, there's a large group of athletes where you've got to try and motivate them to do things. It's like you, Connor, Clay. It's like there's those people that you train that you got to nearly like try and hold back. And you were the kind of guy that would literally like, I think, did we have a 24/7? We didn't,
No.
So to
we
give you a
went
key
24/7. Yes,
to the gym.
you would meet me at a time where I'd text you. I'd be like, hey, mate, are you in at the gym? And I think Mum would come and drop me off at like 6 a.m. or 6:30 on the way to work.
Yeah.
And then I'd be here till, I don't know. I think you were just getting sick of me. You're just like, what are you doing?
It was good. Because I think that's where I got to meet you. Was I think you would have been 3 months post-op from the third.
Yeah, I came in, 3 months we reached
out. Just
out.
before running.
Because you were at S&C with UWA, and I think I was 3 months post, and I was doing some stuff with Rob Nash.
Yep.
And then that was sort of my time that, okay, now I need the S&C part.
Yeah.
And then, that's sort of how we sort of linked through UWA there, and I was like, I need someone to help me with my rehab, and you were the man.
Yeah. It was more like, and this is, again, shout out to Crystal. Crystal did an unreal job, and I think it was like a fair bit of a team. I know Spenny was involved a little bit.
Spenny, did a few sessions with Spenny.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people I feel like was involved this time.
Mullo as well?
Yeah, Mullo, Tim McGrath, Rob Nash, yourself, Crystal. Like, it was a whole team sort of around it, which was...
And you also had Connor doing it with you at the same time.
I had Connor O'Sall as well.
Which was... That was pretty cool for me, because that was probably two of my first big ACL rehabbers. And it just happened to be two guys that were going pro, etc., etc. And I still remember, one of the clear sessions, I'm pretty sure those old 2 squat racks were standing here, and you were kind of doing like 6 months post-op, we're doing like strength work. And you two were going at each other, and like, I think you're squatting like 200 kilos. Both of you, I think you both benched up to like 150, 160.
I think Connor got up to 160 and I got up to 150.
And this is like 6-7 months post-op. No, it might have been 7 to 8 months post-op.
Yeah, it was 7 to 8, I think it was.
It was like, but the competitiveness of you two, which I think was pretty cool in that rehab scene, both at the same team. So you're running together Tuesday, Thursday night. That was pretty cool to see, because you're both such competitive people. And in rehab, it's really hard because you feel so isolated.
Yeah.
And it's like that journey of working with someone, competing against someone. And like you used to, we'd be doing like fucking straight line running, or it'd be like, it could be anything. And you'd both be like, you race you? Compete? No. Slow down. Chill out.
It's not, it was, and shout out to Connor as well, playing professional rugby for Ireland, sevens, which is just phenomenal. But that was, I think that was the most enjoyable part of it, was that there was a lot of people around, but coming in here, you had Connor, Keith, yourself. You just love the training environment. And I think that's that's where this one was similar. Like, I was loving coming in here, spending out, like I could spend hours in here training with Connor.
And you
training
literally
with Keith,
did.
And I literally did. And like you go down Tuesday, Thursday, you've got Connor to train with, you've got someone to do the running with. And I think Byron was also having some issues with his hamstring. So he was in rehab as well. And there was a good core 3 of us.
Do you remember the wrestling session that you 3 did? Was that return to contact?
That was cheating. Byron's a cheat code with wrestling. I don't know. I thought Byron and Connor were going to throw hands half the time. You'd have to do wrestling with Connor and Byron. You're just like tackling an ox here.
Oh man, I still remember Byron, like the quietest human being you'll ever meet. And then all of a sudden, he's just literally like throwing both of you, like flipping you both.
We broke him though. We started to crack some jokes, which was good. He was quiet, very straight, and then all of a sudden, he started cracking some jokes in rehab. Oh, we got him. We broke him.
He didn't change his face. It was just a joke that would pop out any.
It was just a joke every now and then. You're just like, yes, we got him.
But yeah, like how was, like you kind of already answered it, but like that environment, like was it a little bit less pressure than being in a professional environment? Or was it a little bit like, I'm just trying to think from like a rehabber, like for them to get themselves in the ideal environment, because again, rehab can be quite lonely, can be quite isolated. You can put a lot of stress on yourself as well at the same time. Did you feel like that was an ideal environment to be in, and what kind of set you up?
Yeah, 100%. It was like, I think it was the perfect environment for me. It was the way I am. It was, I can come in, I can spend all day here. Like, I had people around me that were competitive and driving and doing their own stuff, and I sort of had the people around me that said, all right, you want to do this, let's get you there. And it was a very individual program for me. Like, it was like I would come to you with certain things, like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to achieve this, and it was like, right, let's do it. Like, it wasn't like, oh no, you've got to do this first and this first and this first. It was like, right, let's do it. You feel good. And I think it was one of those things where having you here, like, all being in here every day, it was that progression of the rehab. It was like, right, you're moving well, let's just move on. Like, come in back tomorrow, we'll go again. And it was fun, man. Like, living here back home, I had my mates, go to the beach, swim, go to work, come home, parents are there. Like, my brother's there. Like,
can we tell the story about your first time you met Lewis?
Yeah, sure.
I think this is going to get me in trouble more than anybody else.
I don't think my parents.
Well, I still remember this first time, because obviously you've been here for a while now.
Yeah.
And it's like we'd hang out together in the gym and everything like that, but we were trying to crack you out of your shell. And me and Louis were, I don't know how, living on that house in Scarborough. It was the dream house. Me and Sam
unreal.
as well.
Yeah.
We were living there, and I was away.
You were away?
I was back home in Queensland.
Yes.
And all I remember is I get this video of you and Louis in an Uber at like 1 a.m. in the morning or something like that.
Yeah.
And apparently you just at home met each other. Lewis being Lewis. Yep. Hey, how you going? You're like, no, I'm not going to go out tonight. No, I'm good.
Oh yeah, that was yeah. So you were away, and Lewis, I was in here. I think it was a Saturday morning. I think it was a Saturday.
No, it would have been Friday because you had a Saturday session.
No, I think it was a Sunday session.
Oh, was it?
Yes, yeah. I think I did a Sunday session that day. So I think it was a Saturday morning. Lewis came in. I hadn't met Lewis before.
And anybody that knows Lewis will completely relate with the story.
Everyone that knows Lewis knows that he's a positive influence on performance.
Negative.
So yeah, met Lewis that day. We hit it off. We did a session together, and he was like, "Oh, mate, like, I live with Isaac. You know, do you want to come over for a few drinks? And we'll just chew the fat." So I said, "Yeah, no worries." I said, "I'm not wearing anything. I'm not going to go out in. So I'm not going out. I'll come over and have a few drinks, and I'll go home."
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries, mate. No worries. So I head over there, and like, I love gin and tonic, and he loves a gin and tonic. That's not a great mix.
Yeah.
So we ended up, having a few drinks, and then he pulls out a bottle. He's like, "Mate, do you want another one?" Yeah, go on, man. So I think we end up polishing off a full bottle of gin together with a few extras. And he goes, "Right, let's go to the lookout." I was like, "Mate, I'm not dressed. I'm not." He's like, takes me into his wardrobe, gets me dressed. We end up going to the lookout, and he's like, "Oh, right on. Well, we had a few beers there, and he's like, "Oh, my mate Bodie is DJing at some club. Let's go." And I was like, "All right." So we ended up going out to this club. We were there. I didn't even know what time. And then we ended up going back to his, and I think I was coaching at the time. I think it was Beast Academy. And then I actually. I had booked my dad in for a beat session.
Your dad booked you in for a beat session.
And I said, let's... So I was very dusty that day, and then I've gone and done a beat session with the old man as well at City Beach after a coaching session.
God. This is like 6:30 in the morning.
Oh, it was terrible. And, but that was the first time I met Lewis. And it was fun. We hit it off.
The funniest.
But we's FaceTiming, I don't know where we're at the lookout, and we're FaceTiming Isaac, and I was like, just going, what are you doing?
And I was like lecturing him, like, stop ruining my athletes.
Yes.
Stop taking them out.
Stop taking them out. So I think that's the first and last time I've gone out with Lewis, actually.
God. I just thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh yeah, sweet. Like, you don't know each other. You'll be sweet. Like, just hang out. And the next morning you're up at 5:30 and doing a beach session, conditioning. Trying not to throw up. That was
a tough one.
probably the first and only time you drank for the whole rehab.
Yeah, probably.
So I just had to throw a little fun side story in there, but I want to go back to your last month of rehab with us.
Yeah.
Because I remember that part where, again, as most good physios do, Crystal was starting to get mallow, and you went and did the...
I did the pitch ready testing with Tim McGrath.
Yep.
I think I was 9 months post then, or 10
you
months
would have been.
post.
I think you came back at 10, 11 months or something.
Yeah. So I did that pitch ready stuff with Tim McGrath, and there was a few things that, for me, I thought, I paid to fly over to do it in Canberra. That was the first one.
Yep.
And I think it was Canberra the first one? Yes.
I think they were both there because you did initial.
I think I did. I did the second one in Brizzy. So I did the first one in Canberra, pitch ready testing, which is basically, if you know, pitch ready, it's like a 3D analysis of how you change direction, how you move.
So
it's
a
great.
The suit and all the probes and everything.
Yeah, it was awesome. And they can basically from there tell you how you change direction, what are the odds of how you're going to do your ACL and things like how do you brake, how do you move. So I did that. I thought I'd go, pass, play. Wasn't the case. So there was a few things that we had to work on when we came back, but how to change direction properly, how to brake properly, which was probably a big issue of mine. That's how I did my last one, which was unreal. Some of the feedback and how that sort of transposed into my rehab. And then also had Greg Mullings as well, that basically took what Tim McGrath sort of recommended and put it into a program, put it into practice. We did a few. We went down, we did a few build sessions with Miles and Crystal and hammered that home, and then went to Brisbane, did that again maybe after 2 or 3 months after that first one, and been able to pass that, changed a whole bunch of stuff, how we moved. And I think you probably remember this one, was the week I was meant to return.
I said this on one of the other podcasts.
Yeah. That was, so the week I was meant to return, I think it was Thursday night. I think I was doing a kicking session or something like that. And
He was down at club,
Yeah, I was down at club and my knee just got stuck. I had no idea what was going on. And I remember I was like, nah, it'll be fine. Came in here Saturday morning. Is it Saturday morning?
So I think we all flagged it on Friday morning, and then I think you were in here. I remember the square mats were here.
Yeah.
And you and Crystal were doing some stuff.
And then we're trying
on the Saturday morning.
To run.
Yeah.
And that one got me good. I think that was, my knee was stuck for some reason. It wouldn't budge. We had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to run and I couldn't. And I think I walked out behind a car and I just broke down.
I remember that.
And it was like I've done all that work for a year, all that extra stuff, and all of a sudden, the day I'm meant to play, my knee jams.
Yeah.
And it was like, you got to be kidding me. And that was just because so much work had gone into that, and I just sort of broke down, just walked out, sat down, just broke down, and luckily, I think that it was almost like a blessing in disguise. It was like, well, clearly you're not ready. And next week I was fine. Came good.
Yeah.
And managed to play, the 5 games with UWA. Went all the way to the finals. Unfortunately, we lost, which was a weird one for me as well, because like you do that 5 games, you win the final. Like you're disappointed you didn't win, but it was so hard to hide the disappointment because it was like I was so happy with being able to play.
Yeah.
Like it was like I've like played 5 games, gone to the final. This is like it was like this is unbelievable. I got through the season.
Yeah. So like just because I want to chat about that bit as well, because I remember the first game you played back against Basie, and when I was with UW, we won by 2 points, and I think you scored one of the tries that game. It was like it was your first game back. I'm pretty sure it was like 10-12 first game back. I remember you were lining up against I think it was like Chris Swiley or something like that. Like, and Chris was playing damn well. Like he was playing very well. But just rewind a little bit before that. You go to pitch ready, you get knocked back.
Yeah.
You're meant to return, you get knocked back again. Like, again, that kind of return to performance block. There's a lot of athletes that do get told no. If again, some physios would like assess and checking it and everything like that. What's the headspace? Like, what's your advice for other athletes? Because obviously, like you're broken down. It is tough. But like, what's your headspace? How do you come back the next week? What's your advice? I
guess for me, it was like, just don't lose sight of why you're doing it. Like you've gone through, like I said at the time, I'd gone through 9 months of rehab. I wasn't going to let another 2 months kick me down again. You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference between 9 and 11 if it means I can play again?
Yeah, and stay there.
That's, yeah. For me, it was like, all right, okay, it's another month or it's another 2 months. Let's crack on. Like, I've already done this for 9. Like, what's another 2? And it was like my still end goal was to play and to play well. And if that meant I've got to do this to make sure that I get to play, then I'm going to do it. And I think that's probably what, like, I would probably say to all the young athletes that maybe lose their way or in regards to their rehab, or just don't forget why you're doing it. And your why's got to be something that drives you as well. So, like, I love playing rugby. I love it. And it's like, I wanted to play. And it was like, that was like, why am I doing that? Or I wanted to play rugby, so I'm going to come in, I'm going to do my rehab because that means I get to play. And I think that's probably my advice for any young athlete that's gone through it, is just keep that why in the back of your mind and just always remember, like, every session is like, right, I'm in here because I want to do this. And it's like that sort of what gets you through those little hurdles. Yeah,
because especially like the time pressure of rehab.
Yeah,
because you get this like artificial time date, and it's obviously
you start looking at rounds. You're like, fuck, I need to play this round. I need to play this round. I need to get to finals. Yeah.
So I can imagine for you, you've had that numerous times. So it's just that advice for the crew of like, how do you just stay patient and just like you said, like just back that why and trust if you need to wait another week. Like, it's not the end of the world. You've done the work. You've done everything you need to do.
Yeah. Like, if you've already done it for 9 months, what's another week?
Yeah.
You know? But just make sure that's your best week.
Yeah. Because it is. And then going back to that, like, I still remember, like, that first game after Basie. Like, seeing how happy you were.
Oh, it was...
Like, from an
I think my mum broke down. I think she was crying on the sideline when I got through the game.
I think everyone was. Like, I remember just, like, seeing Crystal, and obviously Crystal put in a lot of work for that.
Yeah.
And especially from like us that are behind the scenes, like that's why we do what we do. It's like to see that someone has been through 3 ACLs, you come back, you return, and it's like, it's irregardless of the result, you're like, I'm so stoked to be here.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like you get to share it. Like, I got to share it with a lot of people, which was nice.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of that season, you know, you get to share those wins and that joy with Crystal, who was there for a long time, with my parents there every step of the way, my partner every step of the way, yourself every step of the way. And it just made the whole process, like people cared. And it was just, it was an amazing feeling to get through those 5 games.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. If only that last game...
If only we've got the... Oh, well.
Could have gone very, but that...
I'll blame Charlie from knocking himself
out. Charlie and Victor,
knocking each other
headbutting
out.
each other.
Oh. Anyway.
But okay, so we finish up with UW. We finish our third ACL
Yep.
rehab. Then from there, you get the opportunity in ACT because your mind is pro.
Yes.
So
Yep.
you've got an opportunity with is it Brumby Runners or is it
No. So, what?
like the thought process there?
I'll give the Force a shout out here, bloody. Anyway, so yeah, so I actually did 2 days with the Force. Came in, did a yo-yo,
Nice,
did terribly in my yo-yo.
nice.
Went home. That was it.
Sorry.
Well, this was the thing. Like I'd come off all that rehab, and it's like at that point in time we're going through. It was off season. We're going through it. Like let's get quicker because that was sort of the feedback. I was big. I was heavy.
Yeah.
I was playing around high like 99, close to 100 kilos.
You're playing inside centre.
I was playing outside centre, yeah.
Outside centre.
But it was like that was what we do.
Yeah.
Bigger. We're not as quick as we used to be.
Yeah.
And then that off season was like, all right, let's get quicker, which I did end up getting quite a lot quicker, which was very pleased with. Then they come in and said, all right, let's we'll come in, bring you in, we'll have a look at you. Here's a yo-yo. So I ended up running a yo-yo terribly, and that was it. It was like, right, okay, I'll go home. They're like, come in next week and do a Bronco. Come in, run a Bronco. Oh, thanks, mate. Sweet. Tough. No thanks. You're like, what? Like, do you want me to catch a football? But anyway, and then Lockie McCaffrey gave me a call in the ACT. It was their first year. He was going to be with the Gungahlin Eagles, and obviously with my dad being a Brum, I've always wanted to be a Brum.
Yeah.
So I was like, awesome. Let's. As I know, they've got a Brumbies runners program over there. They've got a nice pathway. They've got a good sort of notion of pushing. If you're playing club footy there, you play well, you get an opportunity.
So they're looking at the club land.
They're looking at the club land,
yeah.
And Brumbies boys, when they don't get picked or whatever, they come and they play club land, and that's cool. There's only 6 teams.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, sure. Made the trip across, and sort of started off like a bit shaky in the first sort of block, and then I got moved to 10, and that's sort of when I think everything started to click with the team and stuff like that, and we ended up lucky enough to, the coach would, trust me and put the ball in my hands, and I never played 10 before, and I was a big thick number 10. I went over as a centre, and all of a sudden
Ball running 10.
I was a 10 built like a truck, but
10/prop.
10/prop. I ended up playing 10, and I ended up starting to play some good footy, and we were lucky enough that we went all the way that year and won the comp.
Yeah.
Which
cool.
was awesome. It was awesome, and it was great. Like when we won, I think it was 20 years since the last first grade premiership, and just to have all those old boys there, and like I think my dad flew down from Darwin at the time. He was there to watch me win it, and as well my partner's parents were there, and like it was awesome. Like I really enjoyed that year, and I'm very grateful that I got that opportunity, and grateful Lockie to bring me across, and I got to experience that, and it was awesome. And then from there, I sort of hurt my knee in the grand final. Sorta. And yeah, it was, I don't know, weird stuff going on with it.
Well, that's an interesting story, because you heard it like 20 minutes in. Was it the first half?
No, I think I heard it in my second half.
Yeah, okay.
I can't remember. Yeah, I heard it in the second half. And I was just like jogging around. I was like, don't you take me off. Just strap it. I'll be fine. Just strap it. Finished the game. All good.
Yeah.
And then I managed to get a message with the Brum, said, hey, come in. We'll have a look at your knee. We'll give you some rehab, see how you're moving. There might be a potential to go to Japan.
Yeah.
And I was like, awesome. So looked at the physio there, went through some short, sharp rehab. Felt pretty good, and then was lucky enough. Stephen Larkham said, come to Japan with us. We're there for 2 weeks, and that was fantastic. That was awesome time. And like I got to play 40 minutes in each game, which was pretty cool. Got to play with some great players and a great group of boys, and it was like, oh, this is unreal. It was you sort of find that love for rugby again, and very grateful to them that I got to do that. And then
nice reward for all the work that you've done.
It definitely felt like a reward.
Yeah.
It was like a good season. I got to win a premiership with the Eagles there, and then I got to go 2 weeks with the Brumps. It was it was almost like, thank you. Like
the weight off the shoulders.
But it's moments like that, like even when you win the grand final, it's like it just made all of that extra stuff worth it.
Yeah.
Like it was like all that extra work and all that sort of stuff. It's like, thank you, sort of thing. And you sort of just all that relief just comes down. You're just like, And then what came back for offset? We didn't have I went back this year, early in the year, to play the Brumbies Runners stuff. They're like, come back, be part of the Brumbies Runners program. I ended up deciding I wasn't really happy with my probably performances in Japan. I was probably a bit heavy behind the pace, especially for those professional teams.
Yeah, especially in Japan as well.
Especially in Japan at a high level. And the guys in Brums, like, they're very fit.
Yeah.
You know, used that high pace stuff. I was just that sort of slower kick game, tackle, physical game. But so I decided, strip a bit of weight, as people probably seen now. I'm a lot skinnier.
You went to stop at some point, eh?
Yeah. Anyway.
Jack walked back in the door, and I thought we'd.
Well, I think I played last season at 99. I ended up getting to 88.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's what I'm sitting at.
What's
now.
that movie with the ball, Wilson? What's that movie?
What, with Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
Castaway.
Castaway. That's the one.
Castaway.
That's going to be the cover of the podcast. It's just Castaway.
Anyway, going back to the Brumby Runners, and then played the first game with them. Second half, knockout. Got knocked out completely, like unconscious, and unfortunately that was 3 weeks, and that was the end of the Brumby Runners for me. And you just go, come on, like
it's like you just got that sniff.
You just got that sniff again, and you just like I probably got my head in the wrong spot. I probably shouldn't have done, and you're just going. First game of the season, knocked out.
Yeah.
Missed the next 2 or 3 games. I was fine for round one, but then there was another Brumbies opportunity. Brumby Runners opportunity, Hong Kong, got blue card the week before, couldn't play. You've just got to be kidding me. I got blue card in the last 3 minutes of the game.
Oh,
you
God.
just go, God, give me a break, mate. But unfortunately, like we didn't probably have as good a season as we probably should have with the players we had. But it was like things like that as well. You're just like, well, you miss out on that opportunity. Is what it is. You just got to move on.
Seems like the theme of your story.
Yeah, pretty much. Opportunity pops up and blow it. But
not that, but just like you,
but,
you're very much like you don't sit and dwell on it too much. You process it.
You process it. You have to, otherwise your game's.
Because it's obviously you, like we were saying now, you're onto a next chapter.
Yeah. So, off to fly out tomorrow night. Off to Ireland. For a season, which is good. I think that's what's amazing about rugby now, and what I'm probably grateful for is I can now use the game. Like, it's not a professional, it's not obviously where I would have loved to have been, but now it's like, well, I can use rugby as a way to see the world.
Yep.
And I think that's what's amazing about the game is, I get to spend 8 months in Ireland, in a different country, experience different culture, make new mates. And if something comes of it, something comes of it. It's one of those things where if something pops up. And it's like, well, awesome. Yeah. But, if something doesn't, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I sort of am with my life now. It's like, I think I'm sort of slowly shifting from, right, everything's got to be about professional rugby to let's just enjoy rugby. Because I think this year it wasn't really about enjoyment. It was like, gee, I've got to play well. Otherwise, like all this other stuff is wasted. It's like, no, not really. Like, why am I thinking like that? And obviously my game was suffering because of that.
Yeah.
But now it's like, let's just enjoy what rugby can bring and what rugby can offer for myself now. So.
Do you feel like you got like a different perspective on because that's obviously only happened recently.
Yeah.
So that's obviously for you. Has it just been recently where you flicked that switch and you're like, I'm going to take the pressure valve off myself and I'm just going to enjoy it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had to. I sort of, self-reflected in the way I was playing and the way I was sort of doing things, and I just was putting way too much pressure on myself. I was playing with chains on, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I just had to go, I need to flip that and go, right, let's just play because we love playing.
Yeah.
Let's take this opportunity in Ireland to find the fun in rugby again.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. I think that's where, like, for me this year, I don't think there was barely a game where I actually enjoyed playing, which was like hard for me to accept. Like, why am I not? Like, I was going to train, like, why do I not love being here?
Mm-hmm.
I used to love it, and it's like, why am I not? And it was probably because I was putting too much pressure on myself to do certain things. And like now, it's like, right, I get to go to a completely different country and play rugby, and that's awesome. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool. Like, I feel like everyone goes through that transition where, like most people will go through those transitions where you pressure, got to do this, got to do this, and obviously the evolution of how you were at 19, which we've spoken about, and there's the got to do it, got to prove it, etc. Building, get knocked back, and then you just slowly blend, and you get to that point where you just flick that switch, and you're like, all right, like, nah, I've done what I've needed to do, and now I'm going to move on to that next thing, and really, in depends on what it is. It could just be a year hiatus and like over in Ireland enjoying it, and then something else could happen. But at least it's that next chapter where you can just start to take the pressure off yourself. Yeah,
that's sort of what I'm excited for. So I think the person I am, I'm going over there to win a comp, but
enjoy rugby.
Enjoy rugby. I better goddamn win. But I don't think you could ever. I don't think I could ever not do that.
Aussie guy that keeps screaming at us.
Who keeps? Yeah.
So we're coming up on an hour now. Well, I just want to finish off this bit a little bit, and we'll get into some Q&As.
Yeah.
Everybody. But like, what's the end goal? What's like, where do you see yourself over the next few years? Is it enjoying rugby, or is it? What do you reckon?
Just playing.
Yeah.
I think as long as I'm playing rugby, I think I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And now it's like, right, what's next outside of that? Like, what do I... Now is sort of for me is I need to find something that I enjoy outside of rugby. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember my time here coaching the boys in here, and thank you for that opportunity to be able to do that. But I think if I can use what I've learnt from those years at rugby, those networks, those people that I've met, those experiences, do something with it. Yeah. But it's just now, it's like, what do I want to do with that?
Yeah.
And it's just finding sort of, now it's like, I think I used rugby as like a identity of like what I am for so long. It's like, right, and now I need to become something outside of it that's not rugby.
Yeah, because I reckon that's why, again, you were here as, I reckon you've been an unreal coach. And I still reckon it's those people that have, again, it's the personality as well at the same time, but just like what you've been through as an athlete, and the ability, like even some of the boys that we had in here that have some niggles and some knocks, and the little words that you can have to them, like, it goes a long way. And whether it's S&C or whether it's coaching or whatever it is, like, I think you've also got that IQ side of things as well, where, again, played 10, you've done all these other bits and pieces. Like, I think you've been an unreal coach. I reckon that'll be a pretty cool challenge. We'll see what happens. But
we'll see
what happens. Perform 2026. But yeah, I reckon personally. But again, that's the cool thing about, you could go over there, you can meet someone, something could pop up, and you go end up working somewhere else in the world or something. Like, I guess that's an exciting opportunity that's coming up. You don't know what's going on, and get to figure that all out.
Yeah. So no, I'm excited for what's next.
Yeah.
So, and something happens, and if not, that's it's all good.
It's Jack's motto. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
All right, we're going to go through just a couple questions. We had some questions on Insta the other day. I'm going to kick it off with a good one. Yeah. From your temporary housemate, Lewis. Why is your little bro bigger than you?
Oh, here we go.
This has been the theme last week.
It took me so long for Lockie to love the gym. Oh, we used to argue
and now you regret it.
all the time. Lockie, get in here and do the gym. No, I don't want to do it. Or we'd come out there and I'd tell him to do something, and he'd just, that's it, I'm going inside. And now he just loves it. It's awesome. He just loves it. I don't really care. I think that for him, it's like, hopefully he can hit more sixes with those pipes he's got now. But if he isn't, I'm going to text him. Why are you not hitting the ball over the boundary? But
Yeah, it's been the running joke this week. You've just dropped 10 kilos and look like you're an ultramarathon runner, and he's just jacked on all the sides.
He's big boy. Better use it. Tell you that right now, Lachlan.
Literally. Running up and down that pitch.
Yeah.
We got one from Emperor. He's asked teammate who's had the biggest impact on you as a person and player.
Oh,
that's a pretty good. I like that question.
Shit. Biggest impact player.
Person and player. Because obviously you would have played with a fair few different players.
Jeez, that's a good question.
Why don't we? I'll ask this one, and you can while you're thinking about that one. Favorite rugby memory from Dempsey.
Favorite rugby memory. My debut. I think I'll always cherish that. As I got the opportunity to run on in a Queensland jersey at the SCG with my dad and my family friends there. That's doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
I think that I'll always cherish that. And I'll always be grateful that I got that opportunity, which I may not ever get again. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's up there. That's my favourite. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We'll go with Keith's one.
Yeah.
Quickly
What
as
does
an
Keith want to know?
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
This is also just sums up Keith.
Yep.
How does it like to have Mitch the handsome Hardy as a dad? I think you meant to say, what is it like Mitch the handsome Hardy
as a dad?
Keith thinks that Mitch is his dad.
Keith wishes Mitch was his father. I think
does.
I'm not. I'll sum it like this. Like when I was up in Darwin, Dad went out in 35, 36 degree heat, took me for a goal kick, stood there for an hour, and kicked me back balls, helped him with my goal kicking.
This is last week.
Yeah,
right.
I'm 25, and he's whatever age now, and he's still out 45. There kicking me balls back, and still was like, yeah, let's go to the park. I'm happy. I've said, Dad, I want to go to the park, do some running, and he will still come out, and he'll still do it. And I think that just sums him up as a dad. Mm-hmm. He'll always be there for me.
Yeah.
He'll always support me no matter what I do. And that, as well as my mum, they'll always support me no matter what. They'll always be there for me. And I think, just that moment, I won't see them whatever for a few months, but to be able to still do that is to go out, have a kick with him. He's still kicking me balls back.
Yeah.
How many years later, and you're just like, I love the man.
Just be a rugby player and just fucking kick a footy with your dad.
Yeah, it's just, you cherish moments like that. You don't know, will you do that again? You're just like, I love it. So, yeah.
We thought about the teammate who's had the biggest impact on you.
Shit.
Anyone else in similar situations? Anyone who had, was quite wise or...
Quite wise. Jeez, that's a tough one. I don't really.
Anyone from the Reds?
I mean, to be fair, it was actually quite James O'Connor. I thought the way he came back for whatever he did, whatever in the past, things like that. That the way he came back and acted was, I think, a great role model for any young kid. Mm-hmm. He would come in, do his recovery. He'd be first one in there. He'd be doing, his extra kicking. His ability to talk about what the game plan's going to be. It just showed that, as a young kid, you just sit there and listen to him. You're like, I'm not going to say anything. It's James O'Connor talking. Mm-hmm. And it was, I think, say impact. It was for me, it was right, I'm doing the right things. It's okay. He's in there watching the footage, talking the meetings, running the team. Mm-hmm. The way he was so calm. He'd come in, he'd do his weird breathing stuff that he's doing now. But, it was real weird to sort of see him like that. But it was he was so professional in the way he went about himself.
Yeah.
And then shout out to Titchy as well. When I decided to go over to Queensland, invited me for coffee, sat me down, it's like, oh mate, my parents are in Brisbane if you ever need anything, blah blah blah. And I think that anyone that's been around the force would know that Sitchy's just an awesome bloke to have around, and as a young fellow going into that force setup, as well. Brad Lacey was awesome when I went to that 4 setup. Like, it was like having a good mate there every day. Like, he loved it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they'd probably be the 3 that I've enjoyed being around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can imagine, like, obviously for the kids that aren't in the professional environment, there's a lot of stuff that they don't get to see.
Yeah.
I remember listening to a podcast and, like, someone was talking about the same thing, like the most influential person, and they were talking about, like, Sonny Bill, even, like, Joseph Swiley, like, people like this that are, like, so professional.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't necessarily say anything to you, but what they do from day to day.
They're not going to tell you some stoicism, bloody wise words, but you just see how they act and how they train, and you just like, right, that's how I got to train.
Yeah, yeah. And you can imagine as a young athlete, young kid, when it's those visuals that you see that are so influential on, like, oh, he's doing it, so okay, maybe I can. You didn't even think about that, like stretching or foam rolling or whatever it is, or like breathing techniques or doing some extra recovery or watching videos while everyone else is just chilling on social media, like bits and pieces.
And I'd always say, like, your actions speak louder than words. Like, if you could say whatever you want in a team huddle or say that whatever, but if you're not doing it, there's no weight behind it. Like, if you're not going in there and, like, training hard and doing the small things, like, you can say whatever you want in a team huddle or whatever, but it's like people are going to see how you're doing it and follow that. Yeah.
Those actions are so strong.
Yeah.
I think we'll wrap it up on that. Hour and 10, mate.
Hour and 10, a long
That's a
one.
good potty.
Good potty.
Good
chat. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
That was really good. I think there should be a lot of people who get a lot. Again, there's some stuff that I learned throughout this podcast as well. But I think that kind of just wraps you up. And it is, you're quite humble about it all and you don't say too much, but like the whole story is pretty damn inspirational. And I know for us and our crew, they appreciate having you. Like the athletes, when you come back and hang out here, they love it and they love to see you. So thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having
me. Enjoy
me.
Ireland.
Yes, thank you.
Freezing cold.
Canberra to Ireland. God, can I get some warmth?
Yeah, you should probably move somewhere a little bit sunnier.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll try.
But yeah, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you.